44. We have one apology today from our learned colleague councillor, what's his name?
Mike Howard.
Howard, who is recovering, but will be with us later today, I believe. And so, an exciting day for us today to have a look at the first cut of our economic development strategy. Before we begin, I'll just let you know that I did get up early this morning and prepare a sumptuous lunch for you, which is in the kitchen. And so as soon as we've finished here, we might have an early lunch. And that will be the tradition going forward. And the next person up is Councillor Nair.
Why not?
Thank you.
But I have to see what size of lunch is being prepared and what context.
Very good.
Thank you.
And I thought I'd just first hand over to our Chief Executive, Jason Maris, just to give us a sort of high-level introduction for Paul of where this started and where we're heading, and then hand over to Paul to present his draft to us.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this has been, this committee firstly has been a plank for this council, which aligns nicely, as you know, with the vision and outcomes of Kaipara, the place to be, and of course the outcomes there. And economic development is a key focus for this committee. One of the initiatives that the council was seeking was to employ an economic development lead, and we're very lucky to have done that now. Obviously, Paul's been in the job for about 2 weeks, so far, and he's been making good headway. So what we have had to do is wait for this economic development strategy until we had the lead appointed. And now we're progressing this with the help of Northland Inc in the audience as well. And I just want to acknowledge Northland Inc in the space too. And so the intent today is to put the bare bones in front of you, get feedback from the committee, and get on to completing this strategy and getting it done and dusted and approved by council fairly quickly. And that will be the goal. And Paul is also going to give you an update on his economic development work since he's been in the role, and of course what he's got planned moving forward. Excuse me. So bless you. So that's kind of just like a high level overview, Mr. Chairperson. So if you're happy, we can hand over to Paul to lead.
Well, thank you. Good morning, everybody. I've got a small presentation which basically talks about what I've been doing, where I am right now, and where I'm going in the future. So if you look at, I've done a roadmap which basically is a timeline. I'll just go through the items first. So stakeholder engagement. Stakeholder engagement, I've been dealing with a whole lot of stakeholders, from iwi to developers to business leaders to Brethren to the Haiki cable people, the Kumara growers, community leaders, even Causeway Church, which is to be admired insofar as a $7 million investment into a community initiative. And Mangawhai Matters, I've been dealing with the business associations, Mangawhai Business Association and Dargaville as well. So I've been dealing with them from a stakeholder perspective. Economic development strategy, we'll go on to that shortly. There's a draft strategy, which is a framework strategy, which has been developed along with from Northland Inc. So I thank them for that input. And from that, really, that's where the work starts. As we go forward, there's a lot of work to do on the economic development strategy. So I'm not sure whether you're expecting a completed strategy today, but certainly what we've got is a framework. That's where we are. Investment tourism website. We've been developing a website. I've been working with the communications team to develop that website. That is something that is a sizable piece of work. A lot of work that will come through that will be involved in the economic development strategy itself. So we're looking at Kaipara as a brand. It'll be an independent website. It'll stand alone. It will be a website that will be labelled Kaipara. So it's up for debate what we call the website. So It could be Destination Kaipara. It could be, we've actually bought the name kaipara.org to launch the website, so we can have that name, or we can develop it into a destination website as well. So it's up to debate what we want to do with that. Now, that website will be a significant piece of work. Again, I'll go on to when the timescales are shortly. Networking, I network prolifically. That's part of my job. I think the role really requires me to be out there and basically hunting for opportunity. I've been a farmer up to now, so I've been trying to propagate what we've got, trying to learn, trying to understand the landscape as it stands. And then I've got to 10 weeks now, and I feel like I can be proactive and start to look for opportunities, start to look for investors, start to look for businesses that want to invest in the Kaipara. I was talking to Hauriki Cables yesterday. Mayor Jepson put me onto a good lead there. So I'm looking for leads, business leads all the time to try and develop opportunity. I'm going to create a reporting dashboard, which will be KPIs that I report to so that you can see my progress over time. A lot of that information will come from Infometrics, from myself, from council, and basically so you can see exactly what I'm doing. So I'd like to see, for instance, how many businesses we start up in the Kaipara, to where we were, to where we're going. And part of that dashboard will be business startups. And I'd like to talk about how I can develop business startups through working with the MBA, Mangawhai Business Association, Dargaville Community Board, by running a 7-week training course for business startups and trying to get new companies to start up within the Kaipara. I've created a database. We don't have a CRM system within the Kaipara District Council, but I've just created an Excel spreadsheet of all the companies that I've been talking to, so that if I'm not around, then you know who I've been talking to, and so we don't have to double up on that kind of work. Single point of contact strategy. I've been picking up my information and my intel by talking to people within the within council about who and which businesses are actually targeting Kaipara District Council, so that whether they're going through resource consents or whatever, I need those businesses to come across my desk, so at least I know that we're talking to the companies that are contacting the council. So the single point of contact strategy will basically be, you know, I'll give an example. I had a coffee with one of the resource consent people in the last couple of weeks, and there was a company called Alverium who were talking to resource consents, and they were basically asking for LIM advice on, and they were looking to purchase the residential side of Mangawhai Central. So I contacted them straight away. So I'm looking to try and develop those relationships. That's the single point of contact strategy. And then quite literally with that, I was talking to New Zealand Trade and Enterprise yesterday. So I see them as a pipeline of inquiries coming into New Zealand. And so there'll be foreign direct investment inquiries. And basically people will make contact with New Zealand Trade and Enterprise, and New Zealand Trade and Enterprise will then contact me to say, look, you know, I've got this person here. Would you like to get in contact with them? So what I've done in the past in my previous roles is quite literally pick them up from the airport, take them to whoever they want to go and see and talk to, and then take them back. And on the way back, go through Immigration New Zealand and get them their visas to be able to work here. So it's a start to finish process. And really, it sounds a lot of work, but that's what you need to do to develop opportunity. I'm developing a repository of information. Obviously, Northern Inc have got a lot of information that they've compiled. So anybody that makes an inquiry into the district, I'd like to be able to give them, you know, we've got 27,000 people, we've got 15,000 ratepayers, we've got the GDP of this, these are our industries, this is what we were interested in. Would you like to be a part of that? And so, for instance, I spoke with Austrade recently, about getting trade delegations to come to the Kaipara. why did they come to the Kuiper and what would we do with the trade delegation that came here? So from Austrade, for instance, and I know Austrade have got a delegation going out to Whangarei in the next year. Why can't they come down to the Kuiper and we show them what we've got? So I'd rather get the delegations first and then work out what we're going to do with them, how we're going to demonstrate what we've got in the Kuiper for them to be interested in. The business startup program, which I mentioned previously, is something that I've developed over the last year. I've written a 7-week training course, which covers everything from pre-start to exit strategy and everything in between. And basically, I've offered that to the Mangawhai Business Association and to the Dargaville Community Board as well to run within their respective areas. And there's been some good feedback about that, and so they'd like to do that. As an aside to that, I've also been talking to a company called the Impact Hub, who organise and develop incubators within certain districts. So the incubator would be a business startup hub, which I could work with, and obviously it would generate companies, startups from that base. The last bit is a formal advisory panel. I've been thinking long and hard about this. What should that advisory panel consist of? But it should be very diverse, from iwi to brethren to business leaders to whoever it might be. And what numbers, I haven't really done that. So I haven't really worked that out exactly how that's going to be. But that's kind of where I'm at with just about everything, really. Questions?
So through you, Mr. Chair, maybe it might be best to we've got Northland Inc in the room as well, and maybe get Vaughan and Cody up to talk about the strategy, focus on the strategy first, and then move into update type thing, if that's all right.
Sure.
Is that right?
Yes. So did you want to bring them up?
Yeah, bring them on up. Come on, there. Gonna grab a couple of chairs there. Oh.
Yep.
Thanks.
So Vaughan is working for?
Yeah, so obviously Northland Inc, our EDA, Economic Development Agency, and part of the CCO.
I know that.
And they're supporting us quite closely with the strategy work, and have been in advance of Paul starting too. So they've been involved in this, which is great.
Did you introduce them to the room?
Sure, I'll get it. Sure, absolutely. One, if you wouldn't mind introducing you and Cody perhaps to the team here.
Good morning, everybody. Always nice to be in front of you. So, Vaughan Cooper, I'm Head of Investment and Infrastructure, which is a small team within Northland that actually does a lot of, at a regional level, does a lot of things Paul's just been talking to you about. So in a similar vein. So it's really exciting to see Kuiper actually been developing the expertise and the ability to do it themselves. The opportunity here is, as we do already, is how we work together to do that kind of stuff. So we can help with feasibility of business case type work in some of those opportunities. We've got some tools in there that we can do. I've been in the organisation probably 13 to 14 years now, so I've helped build some of these processes. I was involved in development of the action plan, and also involved in getting editing it started. So involved in some of those strategic documents as well, which is why I've been helping Kuiper get started with its district strategy as well. So that's kind of my quick background. I said it's a small team. You have the full team in front of you, which is me and Cody. And I'll let Cody just quickly introduce her and what she does herself.
Thank you guys for having us here today. So my name is Cody McIntyre, and I work in the investment and infrastructure team as an investment facilitator. So 3 key parts of the role would be looking to attract investment, supporting economic development projects in the region to become like investment ready, and then also helping them secure investment. So working alongside a lot of our central government partners, such as Kanoa and others, to understand how their funds work and how to pipeline, and also having them those strategic conversations around how we prioritise projects within the region. I've been at Northland Inc probably for about 7 or 8 years in the role, and again have been across helping implement a range of projects within the Tautokoro Northland Economic Action Plan, and is assisting a lot of our internal teams.
Great, thank you. So what we're going to do here now then?
So through you, Mr. Chair, so look, it might be the draft strategy and put on the agenda for your feedback. And so I'm anticipating just an open conversation and feedback from members and what I'd like to see, what's missing, that sort of thing.
Yeah. So if anyone's got any questions, comments, queries, theories, etc., fire away. And if no one, yep,
Okay, thank you, Chair.
I'll go you there.
No, it's good to know, Paul. I had a few questions. I went through this draft and half of it, obviously, you are working on it.
Yes, of course.
We don't have an executive summary, so we have, and I guess you got a lot of help from Infometrics, who presented to us
Yeah,
demographics, and Northland Inc., who has been working on it there. And you mentioned that you are talking to NZTA. So my question is actually, what, in terms of your role, what strategy you have in place? You mentioned MBA, you mentioned Dargaville Community Board. These organizations have been there and haven't brought any business to us so far. You mentioned about website, and there is some reference of $15,000 to be spent on it or something like that. A website, to my knowledge, can be set up for $400. Why can't we just have a competition in school? We'll give a $1,000 prize and they work out this, different concepts on what we can do, things like that. So just out of box thinking is what I would like you to have. And when you mentioned NZTA, my son actually was in Seattle yesterday and he said there is a Hillary Fellowship Foundation. He's not a member of that, but he was honored, like in terms of event around, and all those Kiwi investors who are CEOs or CCOs of different companies. So that kind of, you have to go beyond. NZT is just a government little body. KIA is another one, KEA.
yeah, I know them.
All those things, I mean, you have to expand, because otherwise we are always going on the same rut, having a lot of paperwork and no action. Yeah.
I think when you look at the website, we're talking about a brand, we're talking about a voice, we're talking about the mystique, the intrigue, everything about the Kaipara. We need to understand that. And I think I've been talking to Vaughan about organising a workshop so that we actually extract from different viewpoints, from iwi, from brethren, from businesses, from community leaders, what that voice should look like. And I don't know if you remember when I did the workshop with you a few weeks back, and I spoke about the type of stuff that we need to do within council. Sorry, I've lost my way a little bit there. Yeah, so that we. Can you reframe your question again for me, Bash, if you don't mind?
My question was just simple.
Yeah.
About thinking something which we have not already seen, something which we have not already done. Those kind of efforts, and that's what I was expecting, to do something more than the normal, in terms of processes. Yeah.
I just think we need to look a bit bigger than just a simple. It's not a simple website. I don't know if you remember when I spoke to you previously that I sent you a link to the Tasmania website. I don't know if you remember that.
Well, I've been to Tasmania, so I know what.
Yeah, so that kind of we have a lot of similarities with Tasmania in the Kaipara. So we're understated. There's a mystique about it. It's not a very visited place. Dargaville, Mangawai, they're two totally different concepts and propositions, but we need to put them together as one. So the website would look at promoting the whole of the Kaipara as one rather than diverse regions. And the development of a website is quite a process.
I had a good look at that website for Tas.
Did you?
And I thought it was very good, because I think the website's about building excitement. Like, this place sounds like a great place to come and live, right?
Absolutely.
Place to be. I was pretty impressed with it.
Yeah, good. Thank you.
It's a foundation to work from too.
I think we've with the communications team, I've been talking to a branding company who are based here, just down Kindred, just down the road. So it's a local company. And we'd like them to uncover the brand, whatever the essence is of the brand, and take their lead on that. And we've given that flavour of the Tasmania type website, because I think there's so many similarities between Tasmania and here. And we are a district that people have kind of ignored. You know, when you mention Dargaville to people in Auckland, they'll roll their eyes about what's there. Why should we go there? Yet Mangawhai seems to be an area that is sought after, and people from Auckland really want to come and live here. They want to move here. They want to get out the rat race from Auckland, and they see Mangawhai as that. So whatever we do in this website, it needs to promote the best of the Kaipara.
Over a range of different offerings.
Absolutely, yeah. And I don't think we need to, you know, make it too complex. You want to live, you want to play, you want to work here, you want to invest here, and that's the bit that I'm interested in. So I've been talking to several investors about, in particular, with the data communications, with the high EP cable that we've got here. How can we best maximise the opportunities that we've got here? And obviously we've got some issues around fibre coverage, housing, services, infrastructure, roading. I know we've got all of those issues to deal with, but we've got to start somewhere. And I think we started off in a very positive manner. And just to talk about Jason, you know, about employing me to do this particular role, we're starting from a fairly low base, but we started. And I think we've got so much to look forward to and so much to achieve that let's keep it going.
Just in terms of Dargaville, obviously we've had those two major private plan changes.
Yes.
And, you know, and hope to see residential development made easier through the district plan review as well over there. So it's probably a big piece of the puzzle for us.
Yes, district.
Because, you know, as Gordon would allude to, finding employee accommodation is really difficult.
Yeah, very difficult, yeah.
And getting more people there, it's a chicken and an egg thing, isn't it? Like setting up, but not being able to get employees to have good accommodation is difficult. So.
But I was talking to the guy running the rally in Dargaville, and you know, that little project there, that's $250,000 worth of investments into the Dargaville area, into the economy, just from that one particular rally. You know, it's you know, and you talk about Silverfern, you talk about Fonterra, they put $50 million into the economy of Kaipara on its own. So if we can sort out another one or two of those, I've been talking to Sanfords about developing a production and retail outlet in the Kaipara, and so they're open to discussions about that.
Which group was that again?
Sanfords, fish people. They're all over New Zealand, and I first contacted them last year when I was working at Thames Coromandel District Council, and they were looking for a piece of land in Kopu, Coromandel, and council made it very difficult for them to be there. There was no land for sale. I had to lease it off somebody, and that didn't go ahead. So I think as a council, if we can be really receptive, and with the district plan opening up pieces of land for retail and commercial opportunities, I think that's key, so that we are business friendly.
On that subject, the failed chicken farm.
Yes, of course.
Jason might correct me if I'm wrong, but my recollection of that was that ultimately that ended up pivoting on Overseas Investment Office approval.
Yes.
And that failed largely because council was not supportive of the proposal.
Yeah. We've got a different council now.
Well, and so I guess the point is, can we go and reach out to that type of operator again and say, hey, rather than you taking on all the risk and a
Well, I think
environment of uncertainty, can we get some other, big commercial operators?
I mean, that is my role. I've pivoted from being farmer to being hunter, and so I'm out there talking to companies all the time now. And the main objective is, and that's why I mentioned the thing about networking. That there is, I mentioned to Jason a while back that different networking groups, and there's a networking group called the Trans-Tasman Business Circle, but it costs $10,000 a year to be a member of. But you sat around a room with CEOs of all the top Australasian companies. And so, although it seems like £10,000 is a lot of money, and it is a lot of money, but it just might be worthwhile to have that one conversation with that one CEO who's looking to expand into different areas of New Zealand and develop opportunities. So I've developed all my opportunities in the past. I used to be a foreign direct investment manager for Auckland Regional Council. And I developed 18 foreign direct investment inquiries through New Zealand Trade and Enterprise and through networking opportunities. So we have to think a little bit outside the square to what we talked about before.
Did you want to speak, Ron? Did you have your hand up before? No. Well, I'm happy to give you a little bit of feedback on this, Paul. But my feedback on your presentation was that I thought it was excellent. And I thought it was really comprehensive, the list of points that you took us through.
Yeah.
Things are heading in a really good direction. I have a couple of questions and a few comments on that attracting of the businesses, and you were going to report on some measures there. Is there a way to, and would you consider commenting on domestic growth measures, like, we've talked quite a lot about a lot of our land, our rural area being poor productivity, and the possibility that we actually generate a better income for the district by having some more people living in lifestyle and what have you.
Yeah.
Any way we can sort of track that, or?
I think if I take Kindred just down here, the community workspace, there's a company in there who is working in AI. So their productivity is through the roof, and they are looking to work with celebrities. So it's a worldwide company, but there's actual local person working right here. And there are lots of those kind of people working within the Kaipara for lifestyle. We need to just wheedle them out and find out who they are. And their level of productivity is through the roof. So we have to diversify in what we look at from a company type of perspective. We have to think outside the square. They, for instance, I don't know if you know the celebrity will.i.am. They actually promote will.i.am through AI.
Right.
And they can get will.i.am to do anything through AI. And he's supported that, so he's bought into that. And they've got a few other celebrities as well. And that's a company that's working just down the road here in Mangawhai. So there's going to be lots of those type of people around the area who are looking for the lifestyle and be very productive.
So with regard to your single point of contact strategy, have you got something in place yet, or do you have an idea of how you will put in place a way of linking you in when commercial or industrial does come to the council, so that you actually know about it?
Yeah, so I've quite literally this afternoon at 2 o'clock, I've got a meeting with Nadine Spring from the customer services. So any phone inquiry that comes into council, I don't want to overly complicate it. It sounds like a strategy, but really it's a one-pager about anybody that's linked with businesses who contact council, I need to know about. And one thing that I find that is missing, if you think back to my Excel spreadsheet, we haven't got a CRM system. So say Mayor Jepson is talking to somebody, I'd actually need to know that Mayor Jepson has been talking to that person. So a CRM strategy would actually help that. Something that council might want to think about going forward.
So that's actually, it's like making sure you grab all the opportunities that come your way. That's what you're talking about there.
Yeah, so whenever you sent me an email like you did yesterday, and I got in touch with, and I had a meeting with Stefan from Highwick Cables yesterday as a direct result of that. So that kind of intel that you come across all the time, Mayor Jepson, is really key. So if we could have a way of like funneling that right the way down so that I become that single point of contact.
Have you got propositions for an investor that would get them to New Zealand if they invested the money?
Yeah, so I look at, I've been talking to lots of different investors, and you know, they're fairly cold calls to begin with. They're not really warmed up calls, but you know, I'd like to get into the Tier ET.
You have to know somebody they know. They're not going to respond
That is right.
to a cold call.
No, they're not. No, they're not. And that's where I see the whole networking thing is really key. So I like to establish relationships with people, and then they, you know, and I can start to connect dots, people that they wouldn't have spoken to unless I connected them. For instance, I'd like to look at the Coomera market and get it to export. Why can't it export? We have the land available to develop Coomera, but they're fairly inward focused. So Kaipara Coomera, they employ 40 odd people. We've got Fresco up in Dargaville, who we've spoken to, Brethren Company. Why can't we look outside the market and get into export?
Well, over recent years, they've probably found more profitable investments at home that they understand. That might be changing. But they would need to know somebody here in New Zealand. You know, they'll make the investment by stages.
Yeah.
One thing with the Coomeras is that they don't have stuff rotting in their sheds.
No, I know.
They are maximum production, maximum sales. They're all very, very successful, even with a disastrous year like we had last year.
Yeah.
Only the young ones are under pressure, but the other ones can bear it through. So I'm just wondering, do we want to stuff with things that are working, or should we look at other things? You know?
Yeah, that's just, I mean, this is a multifaceted approach.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Yeah.
The opportunities there are huge.
Yeah.
And, you know, talking to people like New Zealand Trade and Enterprise, like I did yesterday, there are lots of opportunities that we've yet to explore. And I think I look at Kaipara's economy as a fairly sort of juvenile economy. We're not really matured yet, but I think there are massive opportunities. And if you look at sort of Dargaville mindset, they don't like change. Would I be right in assuming?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, we need to. It would be great in Dargaville if we had a business incubator, for instance, to try and, you know, start new companies up.
But just going on that Coomera, I saw a graph recently that it exceeded every kind of form of horticultural crop in Northland.
Yeah.
So, you know, it is big time. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know.
Would a loss-making investment in New Zealand be tax deductible in their home country?
That's a good point. I don't know.
Sorry?
I don't know. It's a good point.
I think it's all the difference.
Yeah.
Just to come back into that Coomera comment, though, I mean, I think Vaughan probably itching to tick in there from Kaipara analysis and have some very good data on how much land is available that's suitable for Coomera without, whilst dairy is still viable without transitioning into dairy land. And, you know, is there an amount of land there that could be put into Coomera production to cater to an international market, or is all of the available production being consumed domestically? Do you have some information on that?
Absolutely. I think the comment I would make though is what I perceive from Paul is there is this massive opportunity, and you're seeing all of it. You're going to actually have to be quite targeted around what you can achieve in the next couple of years, 5 years, right? The other thing you need to do is you need to partner with organisations that can deliver that kind of stuff. So you talk about incubators and some of that kind of stuff. We talk about Coomeras and how we value add to them. There are organisations that can do that kind of stuff. So it's about ensuring those things occur, not necessarily that any one individual has to have them. We want to see that incubation occur in your district. We want to see the use of tech occur. we want to see us adding value to Coomera, understanding what market we've got. Remember both nationally, both domestically and internationally, and what scale we need to be at, how we do those things. And there's a role we can play in that. There's a role NCT can play in that, and those kind of things. So I think this conversation should be about where are the priorities for us? Where do we want to go in terms of growing this district? And then the job of all of us is, okay, how do we achieve those priorities? How do we work together? How does Paul do what he does really well? How do we do what we do really well? And how do we lift up what you're trying to achieve? So for me, there's still a bit of work to go in the strategy in terms of what are actually our priorities for you as a district? What do you want to see? And then we start to say, what can council tools be? What can North Wellington tools be? What can private sector tools be? And how do we actually start driving all of that?
I made,
Not quite the answer you wanted, Jonathan, but
Oh, no, that's fine. I think you'll have a huge amount of comment to make on how we refine this down to something that we can deliver, because there are an enormous amount of action points.
yes.
And they're probably, if you're going to deliver them, it's probably several per week, which is great because it's a
Paul for quite a few.
yeah, but it is it's good because we start at that brainstorming type level of content and then we can refine it down. So Ron and then Ash.
sorry,
Go ahead, Ron.
thank you. Has Kaipara got ready prepared for offshore investors, investment proposals fully described?
Who do you mean has Kaipara?
Sorry?
Who are you referring to when you say has Kaipara?
Sorry?
Who are you when you say has Kaipara got prepared? Who are you referring to?
For district.
I don't think from the investors' point of view, they're going to care too much if it's introduced to them by somebody that they know that's here in New Zealand. Yeah.
So what you identify as the biggest challenge we as a region face is investable ready opportunities. We do not have a lot of investment ready proposals. It's a piece of work that we need to continue to work on really well.
Yes, is there much work to do to have fully presented potential investment opportunities?
Yes, it's an ongoing role, definitely.
Because an offshore person would need to know somebody they know and trust in New Zealand that introduces it to them, or it's dead in the water before it starts. And it needs to be fairly well described that they're not going to reinvest the wheel, that they can do that at home.
Yes.
I think from sorry, Ron. I think from my experience in the past, is most of my inquiries that came into foreign direct investment were through New Zealand Trade and Enterprise, and they were high net worth individuals who had been successful in their own countries, wherever they were. I've dealt with people from Denmark, Holland, and Italy, and they wanted to come over here, but for a lifestyle and invest their monies into a new venture. So. I was dealing with a guy called Bruno Greppi from Italy, and he had a brave parts company in Italy, and he wanted to come over here to and quite visionary back, it's probably 15, 20 years ago now, and he wanted to basically develop an electric motorcycle company, which was 15, 20 years ago was not thought of. So it's those kind of people that look into to invest in the region for themselves, but also to employ people. So it's a different way of looking at things.
I think residency will be an important part of it.
Yeah, so quite literally with Bruno Greppi, I on the way back to the airport, I took him to Immigration New Zealand to sort his visa out, and his working visa, for instance. So you have to go right down to brass tacks about how you deal with investors, and I think that's probably the way to go.
I think it's got to have residential investment opportunity attached to it too.
Yes, yeah, I'd agree. Yes.
So I have a slightly different view. My view is you should actually be trying to sort out what are the investable things you want built within your district. And then, because the hard work is actually building up the investable opportunity and getting it ready for investment. The money is out there. You can find it. Yeah. The money is actually the easy bit. It's actually getting a proposition ready that actually is investable. That's actually where you need to put quite a lot of time in there. That's the hard work, and you need to make sure it's actually something that you want in your district, and is the type of growth and the type of employment and the type of owners that you want.
But we have those people here. We know who they are. So I think we can connect the dots.
So, yeah, so that's what I mean. The money is there. You've got to be able to actually have the things for them to invest in. They need to be worked up. They need their business cases done. They need their investment propositions done. That's a piece of work that we can support, NZTE can support, and we work closely with our district councils on.
I don't actually,
It would make all the difference if it had a Kaipara council guarantee.
Through the chair, can I?
yeah, sure. We'll just let, you okay for now?
Yep, thank you.
Ash to speak now?
Thank you.
Away you go, Ash.
Just ready to speak. Thank you.
I can see you itching away there.
Yeah, so what you mentioned that you have in this game of investment management or seeking investment for more than a decade.
Yeah, that's scary. Yeah.
And I'm sure you would have some wins, at least one or two, and you can tell us how they got it. Because I am just enamored when I get all those fancy schemes. 1 year ago, I think you were the one I met who presented on Ocean Flyer. 25 of them coming, electric sea gliders, one of them going from Wangari to Auckland. So, I mean, if you look at the whole shoreline of the West, right from Cape Reinga to Auckland or New Plymouth, it is there. I have seen boats coming to Dargaville from New Plymouth. What's wrong with looking at something on the shoreline? What stops it? So you have to look at the big picture. You can't sell little things in little pockets with lack of infrastructure, but you can look at tourism, you can look at transportation, you look at option of having logging, as the chair pointed out, having little jetty, was it jetties? Taking car from Kaiwaka to somewhere.
That wasn't me, I'm afraid.
Okay. I might have heard it wrong, but there are jetties used to run from Rualai. I met a person who said he can give me the history of it, so simple. So we have that ocean line connecting Dargaville to Auckland to Cape Reinga or whatever. So you have to have that kind of proposition on the coastal shipping, on coastal tourism, things like that, and even transportation, all those kind of things.
Two parts to your conversation. One was how do you raise investment, and
No, but how
talk to that, and I can talk to how we raised investment for Waiki Cable if you want at some point. The bit you're raising about coastal shipping and all that stuff, it's really about, there's two parts to it, right? So what's the demand for the service? So what's the population base, or what's the creation of product? If it's forestry, how much forestry is actually there, and where is it going, and what's the access to market? Can you do that cheaper than the other current forms of movement? And how do you minimise the handling? That's the biggest thing that comes with some of those things is that interchange.
So,
point.
on what I'm trying to, and not in so many words, the whole country is sick and tired of the roads being ravished by these logging trucks across the whole country. You know that, right? So if you say, well, there's an option to take the load off our roads, I'm giving you just inkling. I'm not an expert, but I'm trying to tell you there are so many ideas you can have.
But we looked at all these, so we have looked at these ideas, and either someone needs to incentivize the use of that, or it actually needs to stack up for the industry for it's cheaper for them to operate. One of those two things. And they don't work. So generally speaking, putting forestry onto barging, the industry won't do it because it's more expensive than the road, and the councils are not willing, those who fund roading are not willing to subsidise that. So to some degree, you need to understand the market forces behind these things to whether or not they're actually something you can influence or not.
Would you be kind enough to send us something which you have done in 10 years, which can summarize where are the failing points and where are the opportunities?
I'd be happy to consider opportunities. I'm not that interested in what failed. Let's look at what are opportunities for your district going forward.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Ash. Councillor Landolf, go ahead.
Yeah, I've got a few things I just want to go through. There's always a strategy of whether one business that employs 100 people or 100 businesses that employ one more person. And, and I don't think it's one or the other, it's a balance of the two. I'm just going to speak from where my knowledge is in the Wairoa area there. And I look in the past, and you say you don't want to look at failures. I think any strategist looks at where things have gone wrong to find out why they've gone wrong, so you don't make the same mistake again. By wiping out things that have failed and not looking at them is the wrong thing, because we just live in la la land otherwise. we just carry on going with dreams and we,
I wasn't meaning we should learn from our lessons, sorry.
Yeah.
People aren't, that's not what I was meaning.
so I look at back and I look at the things that have fallen down. When the meatworks came in, the dairy company closed about 2 weeks later. So we didn't actually get any momentum in Dargaville for that because basically that workforce was transferred from one to the other. Now we're looking at very, very touchy time with the meatworks and could close again. And that relates to water supply. Water supply is a big issue. I look at the LVL mill that they had the land purchase, they had the water, they had everything that was on the rail line and all that, and it went to Ruakaka because of the power supply wasn't there. We always seem to be finding why things are failing and yet we're still trying. So we've still got, all this time later, we've still got this water supply issue. I was just talking to somebody from the bowling club, and I know this is not a business, but they want to spend $200,000 on getting the greens going again. Their membership's falling because they've got greens growing weeds. You know why they're not putting it in? Because in summer, the council turned the water off and their $200,000 is dead. Now, this is just basic stuff. We've got to get things right. And if we're going to be looking at infrastructure, I'm just wondering whether we say to one of these companies, right, you do the $20 million upgrade to the water supply, you do it as a private contract and charge the council back. And then you've guaranteed your supply. You upgrade that power line. I'm not too sure what the problem is. Water, power, that building. I'll just go back. You mentioned something before about the rally. Do you realise the last thing that's happened with the rally? And I'm talking, this is where negativity has got to be stopped because we do all this positive stuff and then we have a negative thing and it puts these roadblocks up. So one of the events associated with the rally, they want to do it at night. They went to the council and they said, you've got to pay $20,000 to upgrade the bulbs because we put the wrong bulbs in the thing. Now, how do you do positive stuff when you get roadblocks like that? It's just, so they're not doing that now. So there's another aspect of that rally which is not happening. You've got to make sure, I know it's great this, but you've got to make sure there's, how should I put it? You need a private enterprise thing of where the negativity is cut out and you deal with it and you stop those things from happening because that's the thing when the person doesn't pick up the phone and ring again. And you can try all you want to, but you've got to stop those things happening. So
It's got to be the council that likes to say yes and be completely business friendly.
but there's so much depth to that council and that machine that's not happening. I don't know who made that comment. Did you know about it, Jason?
Are we talking about the lights?
Yeah.
Can I just,
This is where the problem is. You say somebody's built it.
Yep. So a couple of things, right? So I don't know where you're talking about the lights. Are you talking about what location?
In the Riverside Gardens.
Okay, there aren't a lot of lights there. So I don't think we'd say we'd charge you 20K to put up new lights, but what I would say is to put up lights to perhaps provide enough lighting for an event like that, it could cost that amount, right? But that's fine. I don't know the detail.
I spoke to the person yesterday, but yeah.
You made a few points, and I just, because we do record these and put these online, I do want to just clarify a couple of points, right? So Silverfern Farms particularly, I have met with the chief executive of Silverfern Farms, and he has categorically said they're not looking at closing. They definitely understand the water issues. There are definite water issues there.
Yep.
They are getting more efficient about how they operate in water. And we, as you know, as a council, are doing quite a bit of work in the background here around water security and water resilience for Dargaville. It is wholly at the moment unaffordable for our 18,800 ratepayers, but we are hopeful that we can put applications through external funding mechanisms fairly soon to try and do that. So it's still strong onus on this council to try and do the best we can for our people in Dargaville in that water space too. Absolutely agree with you. It is a problem. We are trying to solve that problem, but we are limited as to funding, as you know.
Yeah, I know.
So I just want to sort of balance those points out a little bit.
Yeah, I just wonder if we look at a private plan, you know, a partnership sort of thing where funding can be got externally for a guarantee that they get the water supply, the land's there, you know, the workforce is going to be there. You know, it's, those are the sort of things where we've got to try and be creative about it. Yeah.
And how things can be funded is what I'm hearing from you.
And stop putting up those roadblocks, but let's see how we can get around them to do it.
And that water resilience piece for Dargaville was really important. And, you know, I mean, even the Tautokara Water Sewage Trust team are working hard with us to try and find better ways to do it more affordably and get us connected up, possibly. I mean, that's part of that work that's happening at the moment. But we're also looking at other options as well, as you know.
So that Te Tautokara Water Trust thing will be a real positive when we see how it works.
That's right.
To know that that's happened. I will say one thing about it. There are we had a business meeting on Monday night with the Dargaville business community and that, and there's been a massive increase in visitors and everything in the last 5 to 6 weeks because of the Brendoon closure.
Of course.
Yep, so they've really noticed it.
So are you advocating for a continued closure of the Brindurwan?
Yeah, Oh, they have no Air Force anymore.
I think we need to be aware of, I mean, Silver Ferns have just announced a $25 million loss on back of $175 million profit the year before. So we need to keep an eye on that one.
Councillor Nair.
Thank you. I thought I'll add a little bit. Maybe it's not the forum to go into details of the water, but I happened to drive down to Opaniki Dam yesterday. That's one of the options we are looking at. I publicly mentioned I'm not in favor of something which is technically not viable. But what I'm trying to say and ask the question to the people who actually know more than me, maybe Ron can answer. When the dairy factory was here, they never took a drop of water from the council. Do you know that?
No.
I'm telling you today. So they had a spring water. So they actually did not, when the meat factory came in, they did not somehow took away something which closed. So our option should be to find water. I think Mamarni, the whole is being not on public. If you can clarify, a part of Dargaville is not on council water. Do you know that? I'd like you to investigate some options whereby we don't have to put money on the ratepayers and actually do something to find water rather than go into partnership.
Pardon me interrupting, but if you were in Hong Kong, you would not be interested in an investment where you had to do on-site investigation or deal with uncertainties. It needs to be turnkey for them.
Yeah.
And then you're pushing it uphill.
Well, I tried. I will try. Thank you.
In some ways, that's why you get councils having to do what councils have to do. Because it's not attractive, financially speaking, for investment.
And if they can't do it, they need to step aside and get somebody who can do it to work with them.
I'd add the other thing is they're not likely to make an investment through any entity or person they haven't already dealt with.
No, I understand that, but I mean, we are missing the basics, and with the due respect to the mayor and the deputy mayor, you know that the piping, the water supply, which is serving Dargaville is 40-year-old. It has lived its life. It can blast any time, just like that.
Well, just with regard to that, what do you mean by with due respect to the mayor and the deputy mayor in relation to your comments now?
Okay, no respect, sorry, no respect.
So no respect or?
No respect.
Just respect or what?
I'm so sorry if I made it.
Well, what was the, no, but what was the?
Because.
Just hang on, what was the connection between
Connection?
40-year-old pipes and the mayor and the deputy mayor?
So the deputy mayor actually knows 4 times more than me, being in the council for a long time. He would have heard and known conversation on state of water supply from Taihu River to Dargaville.
But well, actually, Councillor Nair, the state of the underground services for Dargaville is actually relatively recently investigated. So it has not been known for a very long time. The investigation into that has happened in quite recent times.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So we are sleeping.
If you're in Hong Kong and somebody introduced to you a possibility in New Zealand on the basis of its profitability, why would you be interested? You can look at that sort of thing at home. It has to have attached to it a fringe benefit. It's access to a food supply that they can retail in their own country, or it's access to residential eligibility in New Zealand in some cases.
Yeah, in light of that, we need to look at how the Brethren community do it. Because they look and you know, look, they've got a magic system. They've got, through their church, they have a business mentoring program where somebody will be put in charge of a young person, not directly family member, and they'll see them 3 times a week and they nurture them through. But we've got sleep systems and Ruawai who are employing 52 people and exporting beds all over Australasia. We've got Trailer Equip up there who export trailer parts, you know, to put in wheels and lights and all this all over Australasia. So that's not a hurdle. It's not a hurdle. We can do it. And what they use the advantage of the cheap land, the ready labour, and the backload from trucks for their delivery. And so we've got to look at that and say, right, these guys are doing it well.
I think to get the meeting sort of back on track to where we've got, and thanks for bringing that back, because Jason and Deputy Mayor and Mayor, we met with 17 Brethren the other week, and Tim Wearmouth was the organiser of that, and we've agreed now to meet every quarter.
Excellent.
So they are an integral part of the Kaipara economy, and we appreciate that and recognise that.
But, you know, what I'm saying is there's a business model to follow.
Absolutely.
You know,
They don't fail.
It can't be done, it can be done because they do it well.
They do well.
It's a very key point that you make, and you know, to the extent that I'd like to propose that we do push ahead with that as part of a key part of our strategy, is actually ask the Brethren, now that we have that meeting set up, to help us set up our, you know, this business mentorship system, so we can actually show how it has been demonstrated to work here. One of the businesses we visited was Shade Systems.
Yeah.
They can manufacture in New Zealand and export and compete with China.
You do a lot.
If they're doing that, they're doing something right.
Doing a lot in North America. They're employing, I think it's up to around about 66 staff now. You know, if you take away those Brethren businesses out of the Dargle, Mangararoto and Ruawai areas, you're looking at doubling you're halving the people that are employed.
I think with this strategy and talking to Tim, they would like to hold us to account for delivering on the KPIs that we set out. And I, as part of the economic development strategy, I'd like to put KPIs in there that hold us to account.
I might be repeating myself, but I think it has to have a fringe benefit attached to it, like it's a source of food that they are importing, and they have the ability to redistribute it through some of their entities. If it's just a straight investment, they're not even going to look at it.
Vaughan, you had some comment.
Yeah,
right there.
I think part of this conversation should be what is it Kaipara has to offer? So, and to some degree, you compete with other districts around the region and the country, right? So what is it that is special about doing business or operating in Kaipara? What are the things that you can offer? Can you offer incentives? You need to actually highlight this man here and the service that you're offering through the business friendly council approach you do. That's actually really significant. It works phenomenally well. It can be far more effective than places that do development contributions and discounts them.
If it had a supply of food or an entity that they or subsidiaries could retail, I could perhaps do something with it.
Yeah, and so the other thing is what is it that businesses actually need to operate in here? Which is some of the stuff we do. So we've talked a lot about particular businesses, but what actually makes those businesses successful? How are they getting access to their labour force? How are they housing their people? And what is the network and infrastructure around them? Electricity, water, wastewater. Those are fundamental things that councils need to do. They have to be part of your strategy. If you want to grow and lift the economic performance of your region, those are things that you need to deliver so the businesses want to come here. So when they do come here, they're really successful. I think that's, for me, that's stuff we need to see in the strategy, and that stuff that then drives things that council's going to focus on. So if you want to grow Dargaville and value add manufacturing in Dargaville, you need to put water on it. You need to have a focus on delivering that within the next amount of years. If we want to grow Mangawai and we want to grow tech in Mangawai, then yeah, let's go talk to the people doing AI, and let's go back to Hawaii and start building some of that infrastructure and stuff. And let's put the amenities in that people who are running tech want to do, so the walks and access to beaches and that kind of stuff. So we grow it, our point of view.
That, I mean, I think that's exactly where we're heading with the strategy, is we need to refine it down to a very clearly defined value proposition for the few offerings that we're going to go out there with. And I always thought that a key part of that would be having someone like Paul, where we can go and advertise and reach out and go, come and meet with our, economic development facilitator or lead, help you set up your business here.
I think if you start thinking outside the square, we don't have a film policy or a film strategy, but we have some most beautiful coastline New Zealand has to offer. I'm thinking of approaching companies with that regard to film the next Netflix up here. Why can't we do something like that?
And I'm very touchy about that because the government policy and tax laws can just change it
Yeah, I
and
know.
destroy the industry and
Yeah.
leave us very vulnerable if we're. But I'm just going back to the church. What do they want? Has anybody asked what they want? They want KPIs. They want us to hold, but do they want industrial land? What do they want?
No, I don't want industrial land. They can buy that home. They do want something that's ongoing, something they can add further value down the chain.
Yep.
It needs to come from a source that they trust. And if they can mark it up or redistribute it through some of their entities, they may have interest.
In relation to your comment, I think they want to be left alone to get on with their businesses.
Yeah.
Yes. And
Get out of their way and let them go. They know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. Let them-
They have engaged with council though, quite, that meeting that we had.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and they can help to tell us on an ongoing basis how we keep out of their way and let them get on with doing what they're good at doing.
I think Gordon and Vaughan brought up some key points here. It's no point having a kitchen when there's no pots in it. Cheap, I mean, I rave on about it at some of these joint regional economic development committee meetings about power prices, because I'm looking at what's happening overseas with the saturation of solar and wind, and the power prices skyrocket and people will leave because they can't afford to run their businesses. So, that's a critical point, when people come here, they want to be able to plug into the power at the right price, they want to be able to get the right plan, they want to be able to accommodate their workers, and you're hitting on key points, they need the water. So those are really our fundamental drivers that we have to get right first to really grow our district. That's what you're saying there.
If it was a source of food or a raw material of interest to them, they can clip the ticket for every transaction that happens subsequent to the importation of that product. And that might have the difference between whether they have interest or none.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, if I could, good conversation as well. There's council does need to focus on what it can look after it too.
Yep.
And that's really important. And I really like the conversation about focusing us down into that space on key areas. Otherwise, we're going to be too light over everything and get nothing done. And that's a key part of this. The other aspect to economic development, which, you know, you'll realise and understand, is the district plan. And that is the biggest thing that this council could do, and get that out and notified to free up that land, make it available and attract people here. So all this other conversation is great, and absolutely we're going to focus on that. It's really important. And getting that district plan out notified is key to this. But also, and this is another thing that the council has been pushing us on, rightly so, is the regulatory environment. And that's to the chair's point about getting out of people's way. We need to make sure the regulatory environment is correct and people can come in and do business with us in an easy way. And there's obviously a lot of work going on in that space in the background for us too. But again, that still links back to the district plan in some way. So, sorry, Mr. Chair.
No, absolutely. Thanks for that. And then from there, building a reputation as the council that will let you do your business. I've got a couple of more comments just to make, if that's okay, and then we'll have a quick round the room and wrap this item up and move on. I don't want the lunch spoiling.
It better be good. That's how you
just a little point, but I might as well cover off on all of these things. And there may be, I don't know whether there's anything to this, it's just something that's come through anecdotally, but from that single point of contact strategy perspective, we have a re-establishment of a business, which is the Kaihu petrol station, and there's been some commentary about whether that might not be happening fast enough, and we don't actually have any concrete information on that yet. But there's something that we might, if indeed there is an issue there that needs straightening out and fast tracking, we might have that come to Paul. We had a presentation at the last council meeting from former Mayor Jason Smith, is now running the Kauri Museum, and I just wonder whether, obviously, it's something that everyone's very well aware of in terms of our tourism strategy and everything. I just wondered whether actually our museums could be stakeholders in the strategy, maybe. I'm not sure. Raise that as an idea.
Yeah.
Because they are pretty decent tourism drivers. And then we also had that presentation from Minister Jones, the Minister for Resources now, and very keen on moving things ahead for Northland. And I'm just wondering, do we have a really good mining and mineral resource inventory for Northland? And I guess specifically for Kaipara, we know what we've got underground.
Yes, we do.
Yeah. And what is it?
So we've done airborne mineral surveys. So we've done the survey across the whole of the region. So we've done the really detailed investigation. What we've not done is actually, I think there's an opportunity to do more analysis of that data set and say, actually, where is that physically and how do you get access to it? So what does that mean for on the ground mining? We've been engaging with Southland quite recently. They do this very well. The interpretation and analysis of data is their expertise. So we've been talking to them. They've done a similar thing. They actually did their survey after us, but they've then gone on and done the analysis. So we're looking, long way of saying we're looking into how we can analyse that data ourselves. We have the data. We've done the work.
Okay, that's good. I mean, I think the time might be right with the new government and an enthusiasm for such things to
There is an enthusiastic minister.
to pounce. Yeah.
I think anything that actually has the acquisition of overseas funds will be of significant importance to this government.
Yeah, I guess the issue we have with all of those things is the sovereign risk in this country, people coming and setting up and then not being allowed to do what they were going to do, as we've had with oil and gas. Just one final little thing, Paul, on page 20 or 21, I'm not sure which is the pages of the report. You've got a little piece here, it might be a bit of a gimme for us on the climate change, where you're talking about as temperatures increase, rain lessens, weather patterns shift and sea levels rise and all those sorts of things. I guess the question comes up, what is actually happening and relative to what baseline? I just want to do a bit of work on what we're actually saying in that space, because is rain lessening? Since when? Et cetera. Would be something to have another look at.
Okay, thank you.
Just going around the room, does anyone else want to have anything further to ask or comment on this item before we move to the next one? I'll take that as a yes. Oh, Ash, you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
No, all I was saying is, we are missing that, Mr. Jones is quite interested in airport, which will be Brethren's want as well. So it'll be a good connection to Auckland. If we invest that under the, whatever the fund is coming quick, that'll be awesome. Ready money.
Through you, Mr. Chair. So at the 17th briefing, which is next week, I think, we're bringing in the draft list of the regional list, as a matter of fact, as it stands, of possibilities for the new regional infrastructure fund.
17th of.
Yeah, next week, next Wednesday.
Oh, that's
And next
awesome.
Wednesday's briefing, we're bringing you the draft list of the regional, just a draft list of the regional projects that could be included in the regional infrastructure fund, and that is on the list.
Because there is a deadline as well. We don't want to miss the deadline. I think it's in July or June, something.
It'll be all clear next week. The government hasn't settled on the criteria for the fund yet. And Minister Jones was in front of the Joint Regional Economic Development Committee last Friday talking about that and gave us a clear steer.
Thank you.
Kindly, Northland Inc will be coordinating that for the region.
Thanks, Jason. You just, Vaughan, in closing?
My closing comment was, acknowledging that the resources that this council has, I think you need to have quite a strong focus on who else can deliver stuff to support you. When you talk about business mentors, when you talk about incubators, all those interesting things, make sure you always take that step and say, who else can help you deliver those things? Because we're all here to help. And that is Northland Inc putting its hand up too, saying, if we can deliver stuff, we will. We are your own, you are a shareholder. We're interested in trying to help, but just keep that laser focus on, because I know we want to do everything, but let's actually really do the things we can, and let's make sure we draw on all the other resources to support us to do those other bits.
Great, thanks.
Supportive comment.
Thank you, Vaughan.
I would just point out that I have had previous shareholders at the level of the importation of food, maybe pine logs, I don't know. Yeah. But if you had a proposition, I can put it to them.
My big thing is squash the negativity, but don't be blindly optimistic, realist. But some of this negativity is just absolutely destructive, and it's a term I often use with my children. I call them crabs in a bucket, and you put a whole lot of crabs in a bucket and one tries to crawl up to get out, others pull them back in. No reason at all. They just don't want them to escape. So that negativity, we've got to squash that straight away. Yeah.
Can I just put the comments that I made before about my sort of where I am, where I've been, what I am now, where I'm going in the future, just a bit of a roadmap that I shared with Jason not so long back. It kind of puts into context. So there's the Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4 there. I've not quite finished up at Q4, but the economic development strategy, looking at getting adopted by early June. So that's where we are with that. The investments development website, tourism website, we're trying to get that launched by the end of August. Networking is continuous throughout the year. It's a dashboard that I talked about, trying to get that established by the end of May. Creating the database is continuous, of course. SPC strategy adopted. I'm meeting with Nadine this afternoon, so hopefully we can get that sorted by May. Repository of information throughout the year. The business startup programs with Mangawhai and Dartville Business Association running later on in the year. All the advisory panel by the beginning of August. And do some comms around my particular role going forward as well. So we'll let the public know that I'm here. We have that facility in place. That's kind of puts it all in a nutshell. Because my contract is only for a year, a part-time year. I've tried to cram everything into that year. So that's where I am.
Great, thank you, Paul. And Jason, did you have anything else to talk about going forward with this? Paul's pretty much covered the.
Yeah, so obviously we just need to pull all the feedback together, and thank you for the points that you made. Really prioritise and focus it, so we have a clear strategy and then an implementation plan with measures, basically.
Wonderful. Hey, thank you very much for coming, Cody and Vaughan. Really a great contribution today, and forward to moving this all forward together and seeing something happen. So have you, Paul, kind of covered off on your second report as well, or is that?
Yeah, it's on, yeah, I'm quite happy with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does anyone else have any final things they wanted to contribute before we break for an early lunch? No? Hey, well, thank you very much for your attendance, everybody, and we'll declare this briefing closed.
Thank you.
Thank you.